There are few voices in Congress right now cutting through the noise like Representative Jasmine Crockett. We have those like Booker, Sanders, AOC, Presley, McGovern, Mark Lee, Van Hollen, who are fighting for the people. But whether Jasmine Crockett is clashing with billionaires or dismantling MAGA propaganda in hearings, Crockett has earned her reputation as a fighter. But in a rare moment this week, something unexpected happened. She cried, and it wasn't what you might think. We'll get to that moment. But first, let's talk about why her rise matters now more than ever. Jasmine Crockett is currently the vice chair of the House Oversight Committee, a position of enormous influence, especially now that the chair is stepping down. In a political climate where facts are twisted and oversight is often weaponized for partisan games, Crockett brings something different: legal experience, a clear moral compass, and a refusal to be silenced.
Hey, guess what? I told you so. We told you so. You're not listening to me. You're still not listening. Hang on. We told you so. You hear the fucking news? Did you hear Let me sit down so I can give you the fucking news. Okay, pay attention because this is the most important thing you're going to hear fucking today. The news just came out that Jerry O'Connell is going to be stepping down as the chairman of the Oversight Committee. You probably remember when he became the chairman of the Oversight Committee because it just happened in January when the Democrats selected him, 74-year-old Jerry O'Connell, who was unfortunately battling with cancer, over 35-year-old superstar Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And now here we are just a few months later, he's got to step down because he's dealing with health issues. Now look, nobody's rejoicing in the fact that he has health issues. We are all sending him nothing but love and positivity and the best wishes because we wish this upon nobody. But let's be honest, we knew he had health issues. He's an older gentleman, AOC, 35 years old, no health issues. This should have been the decision back in January. Unfortunately, AOC is no longer on the committee. But guess what? You know who the vice chair of that committee is now? The Representative Jasmine Crockett. So if the chair steps down, you know who should be the chair? The vice chair. It should be Jasmine Crockett. Do you know what the Oversight Committee does? It's one of the most important committees in the House next to the Appropriations Committee. When people are breaking the law, Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, all these motherfuckers, it's the job of the Oversight Committee to call that shit to task. And unfortunately, not a lot of that's been happening because, quite frankly, we didn't have the right chair in place. It should be Jasmine Crockett. If you're watching this video, you got 2 calls to action right now. In my comment section, tag Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, and tell him Jasmine Crockett should be the chair of the Oversight Committee. And then share this fucking video.
You heard the man. I love his passion. He is very active on TikTok, so please go check him out and hopefully respond to his call of action. Jasmine Crockett is also not afraid to take on powerful figures. When Elon Musk tried to deflect criticism and elevate conspiracy theories, Crockett called him out publicly and directly. She exposed the danger of tech billionaires with unchecked influence. And then there was her confrontation with Trump loyalist Pam Bondi during a hearing. Crockett didn't just debate her, she dismantled her narrative with surgical precision. These aren't just political spats. These are battles over truth, over democracy, over who gets to shape our future.
Now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. And yet she turns and says, oh, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official, and so she needs to tread very carefully.
So I'm actually going to say that I participated in a Tesla takedown. That is the name of the website. And it was all about this large protest that they're calling for, and this is a non-violent protest. One of the things that I told people to do is make sure you are adhering to the laws in your area. Make sure you know what it looks like to protest and to be able to raise your voices and to exercise your constitutional right to free speech. And what we see is that they want to dull our free speech rights. I just want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever, yet I've also never made excuse for those violent actors, such as the ones on January 6th. So Pam Bondi, if you have an issue with terrorism, maybe you should talk to your boss about locking back up those guys that he let out that participated in January 6th.
I don't like Elon Musk. I'm going to say it 50,000 times. I don't like him. I don't like that he going out there and he firing people. I think that he's a crook because somehow the rest of us can't sit around and get whatever federal contracts we want. The rest of us can't sit around and get law enforcement and get them somehow ordained as federal law enforcement to protect him. The rest of us can't get our dealerships protected by the federal government. That is somebody that is operating above the law. For whatever reason, just because he has a lot of money, more money than everybody else. And yes, I am happy to see that on my birthday, which is what I said, there were peaceful protests around this world against him. Because he is...
It's clear Crockett is gaining momentum. From viral clips where she breaks down GOP hypocrisy with sharp, unapologetic honesty, to quietly influencing the direction of the Oversight Committee, she's becoming a cornerstone of the pro-democracy movement within Congress. In a sea of performative politics, her clarity and commitment stand out. She's not trying to get attention. She's trying to get results.
We right now have a white supremacist that is sitting in the White House. He is backed up by other white supremacists. And if you really want to know who the criminals are in this country, you can Google it. You don't have to trust me. But the people that commit 80% of the most violent crimes in this country are white supremacists. Yet for whatever reason, they sit and they serve at the pleasure of the president. They are the ones that were there on January 6th, tearing our democracy down physically. And now we have them tearing us down right here from within. Here is the problem.
Of course, Congresswoman, to interrupt you, but President Trump, of course, has denied any allegations of the white supremacists, and that's why he apparently fired what he. I know your point, but he did fire Darren Beattie in reaction, they believe, in part to his attendance at that conference. Does that change your opinion in any way?
No, it doesn't change my opinion because we saw what he literally recently just posted, and the coddling is for the white boys. That's what's happening right now. I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel away and why you can't make me doubt who I am? Is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder. This is why they don't want us to have education. This is why they are trying to literally say we won't fund the HBCUs, because they know that if they've already gone after affirmative action and they're saying, you know what, don't allow them to come into, say, these PWIs, as we call them, don't allow them to come into these institutions. We know why they created the HBCUs in the first place. It was because they wouldn't allow us into the white institutions. And so now they're not allowing us in. And now they're saying, you know what, we're also going to defund the HBCUs. You know why? Because they don't want any more Kamala Harrises. They don't want any more Jasmine Crockett's. But I got news for them. I don't care what they do. We will fight to the end to make sure that we get our due. Because again, if you want to talk about the people that shouldn't be in this country, you probably need to look in the mirror, because the last time I checked, the Native Americans who Summer ICE have been rounding up, or the Puerto Ricans who are absolutely Americans, listen, the only people that came and colonized this place are your ancestors, Trump.
Since convicted felon Donald Trump was sworn in for a second term in the Oval Office, and the state of the country is, well, I'll let you be the judge. Overnight, the Supreme Court temporarily blocked the Trump administration's efforts to deport Venezuelan nationals pursuant to the Alien Enemies Act. It's another legal loss for Trump and his administration, which, according to the Institute for Policy Integrity at the NYU School of Law, has an impressive 93% rate of failure. Elon Musk is projecting Doge will come up short by $850 billion on its $1 trillion pledge to reduce the federal budget. Since Trump's inauguration, more than 280,000 federal workers across 27 agencies have been fired, and that doesn't even include the month of April. It's a number only surpassed by the early days of the pandemic. The stock market has lost trillions since Trump unilaterally slapped tariffs on allies and enemies alike, careening the U.S. economy into a trade war with China. There are more than 800 cases of the measles across 25 states. And Trump, who wrote The Art of the Deal and famously promised that he'd end the war within 24 hours of taking office, is now threatening to back out of peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia because it's taking too long. And don't forget the eggs. The price of eggs is at a record high. It's a new record high. $6.23 per dozen. But Trump says prices are, quote, getting too low for your eggs. This is just a snapshot of the state of our union. But hey, don't worry. Trump is making America great again. Joining me now is Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She's a member of the House Oversight and Accountability Committees. Congresswoman, it's good to see you. We just got that ruling at 1 a.m. from the United States Supreme Court. The court doubling back on an earlier ruling, giving the administration the go-ahead to deport these individuals. Do you feel hopeful, though, that the courts are trying to rein in Donald Trump? Are we really set in a constitutional crisis now? Because Trump flaunts the fact that he has no intentions of bringing Abrego Garcia back to America. I mean, check out what was posted on X yesterday by the official White House account.
Yeah. Katie, first of all, it's great to see you this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, it's great to see you. And one of my colleagues actually put this post up in a group chat, and I was like, okay, this isn't real, right? Because it was just a picture. And then she was like, no, it's absolutely real. And I was like, who are we and where are we living and who is running this country? Because the level of childness that we saw in this post, but also just the level of cruelty and the level of admission that we've seen, right? Like, Katie, you and I both know that ultimately this is not the last that we have seen of this post. This post will most likely show up in some court filing when they are trying to determine whether or not this court has, or I'm sorry, this administration has intentionally decided that it wanted to ignore a court order. This will most likely show up in a contempt hearing. So I don't know why, I don't know who's advising, or I don't know if they really do care. The reason that I was cheering, though, was because of all courts, I cannot imagine that it was anybody on really this court, this particular court, that at 1 a.m. decided that they were going to do right, besides obviously the three that have their heads on correctly. So the fact that this wasn't a 9-0 decision is still very disappointing. But the fact that we got to a 7-2 is a win, especially at 1 in the morning. And essentially what this does is kind of like what Judge Boasberg did when he said, hey, stop, do not deliver those people into El Salvador, turn that plane around. Basically, they're saying that plane better not take off, and we know how y'all like to act. So we will see ultimately what the Supreme Court comes up with, and I'm not necessarily the most hopeful about the Supreme Court, but we also will see how this court decides to act. And I think right now they're trying to figure out, is this a administration that will even ignore our court orders? And I think that may sway how they decide to rule on this particular underlying issue.
And, you know, Maryland Senator Van Hollen just went to El Salvador after meeting with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He said he thinks that El Salvador was feeling some pressure, and that's why they let him meet with him. But ultimately, Nayib Bukele saying he's going to remain in the custody of El Salvador. We need to see more action, though, from people kind of emulating what we saw from Senator Van Hollen, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So first of all, kudos to Senator Van Hollen. And honestly, that's what it looks like to be an elected representative. He represents Maryland. This is someone who is a Maryland resident, and he decided that he was going to go down there and check on him. And honestly, I don't know that I was convinced that he was alive. I really don't. And so I was happy to see that he was alive, number one. But number two, if Senator Van Hollen can get down there, if the president can and get up here and get to the White House, then I don't understand why we can't get Abrego up out of there. I mean, we know that they admitted that they were wrong. Now they're trying to double back and say, well, he's this terrible person and all this kind of stuff. But here's the reality. As far as I'm concerned, he's a lot less criminal than the person that's sitting in the White House. Because last time I checked, he doesn't have any criminal convictions. I don't even think he has any outstanding cases versus the guy that still had cases pending when he was sworn in on January 20th and also has 34 felony convictions. So listen, I don't want to hear anything from the Republican Party about how they're trying to keep us safe when their fearless leader is actually the biggest criminal thus far that we have seen, because I haven't seen anybody with a rap sheet that looks like the president's.
And it was this interview that brings us to the moment that stayed with so many people. Jasmine Crockett's interview with Katie Phang on MSNBC. Phang was signing off her second to final show, and she showed Crockett a clip from the past. A clip of Jasmine's first interview with her 3 years ago. You can tell Phang was emotional, but Representative Crockett was at a loss for words. Crockett paused. She tried to speak, and then she cried. It wasn't weakness, it was humanity. She only had enough strength to thank her and tell her that she would be missed. It was the kind of moment we don't often see from elected officials. A moment that stripped away the politics and showed the weight of the fight.
So I want to exercise a point of personal privilege right now. I'm going to play a really quick clip for you, Congresswoman, and ask you a question on the other side. Take a watch and listen. My next guest. Joining me now is Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett. Representative, so happy to have you here. I know you had a busy day yesterday. Well, Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett, thank you for being here, and thanks for all of your advocacy. We appreciate it. Okay, that was you and I 3 years ago. That was your first time on the Katie Phang Show. This is the second to the last episode of the show. Congresswoman, I wanted to thank you for always getting up and early and delivering it, but I also want to say thank you for your continuing support for democracy. It's definitely something that you have made your brand, and it's the integrity that you're bringing, and I'm grateful for you always. We'll miss you. Oh. You can't have me crying at the beginning of a show, Jasmine. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, you haven't seen the last of me. Thank you for being here and getting us started today. I always appreciate you.
You know, I find myself tearing up every time I see this clip. It's not just about the friendship. In a time like this, having allies and people who have that same passion as you is a blessing. Knowing there are people fighting for what is right, not the left or the right, helps with your sanity, helps you get out of bed every day to continue that fight. It gives you hope. Let's hear what Representative Crockett has to say.
So I just wanted to jump on really quickly because I did something that I've never done before. And I cried on live TV. I've never cried during an actual hit. Some of you saw me cry during the DNC. And this morning was the second to last show for Katie Phang, who is an amazing journalist that I connected with almost immediately upon her interviewing me, as she is a former prosecutor. So when she has to cover these legal cases, she knows what she's talking about because she's been in those courtrooms and things like that. And this was her second to last show. And she had me on at the top of the hour, and somehow her team went back and found our very first hit, and it just took me out. It was back in 21 or 22, or I don't know. It was a long time ago. And so it's definitely bittersweet because I feel like her voice has been invaluable to MSNBC. But I know that her voice won't be going anywhere. So much love to my friend, my sister in the fight, Katie Phang.
So yes, they finally made her cry, but not out of defeat, out of purpose. Jasmine Crockett cried because she cares, because she's in this fight for the people. And if you care too, if you're watching the authoritarian drift, the chaos, the lies, and you're asking who's standing up, the answer is she is. And she's not done yet. If this moment moved you, if you're tired of the chaos, the lies, and the erosion of truth, hit that like button so more people can see what real leadership looks like. Subscribe if you believe in democracy, accountability, and elevating voices that fight for the people, not the powerful. And drop a comment below. Do you think voices like Jasmine Crockett's are what we need more of in Congress? Let's talk about it. Thank you. We see you.